some discoveries were made. Point Blank has been around forever. For the longest time, it's been like community-held belief. It was like, yeah, play random arrows with increased AoE, and you can like reach the edge of the screen with Point Blank radius. And you actually found out that it actually scales linearly no matter where you aim. He was aiming like at the edge of the screen, and you could see the health of the crabs getting lower and lower and lower as it moved closer to his character, because it doesn't matter where you aim, but it actually scales depending on the position of the mob in relation to your character. The only exception to this is Ice Shot. If you shoot a target at point blank range, and you have a lot of AoE on your Ice Shot, and this is known as like an Ice Shot Railgun style build, then the entire AoE, even if you're off screen with it, does the 50% more damage.
Ooh. Oh.
The Railgun is back, and not only does it abuse the point blank mechanics, it's also one of the cheapest options to get massive damage out for no cost. All you need to have some good laughs is a Shin Saw, the point blank keystone, a crit build that looks a bit like this, a lot of weapon elemental damage, and if you want you can add Pyre, that adds some esoteric burning damage increase, destroys corpses, and it just looks fun and sounds awesome. But how does this build that costs almost no currency but destroys high level content and bosses work exactly? Well, let's say this is you and a boss and some trash mobs. Now if you just hit the boss, then it's no good because you're only dealing 40% of cold damage to that boss and the trash mob gets destroyed in the cone. Instead, you bring the trash mob between you and the boss, hit the trash mob with the Ice Shot initial projectile, then the cone area will be calculated based off that hit, and the trash mob should be in point blank range, and that cone with 100% elemental damage will melt down the boss. You get extra points if there's another trash mob in the cone that gets hit by a lot of overkill damage, and Herald of Ash just spreads the burn onto the boss, burning it down. True double dipping. Just to get it out of the way, this build is no clear speed wonder, but for the small currency investment it gets the job done. Also, let's be realistic, this is a softcore build and it has 0 defenses. You will die very, very often. So don't expect to get to 100 with this build, but you can make it into the 90s. I was using the following setup to get this far. Ice Shot was linked with physical protector attack damage, weapon elemental damage, slower projectiles and increased area of effect. If you happen to have a 6 link, although that's not budget anymore, you can add added fire damage. To support Ice Shot we're using Hatred and Herald of Ash. For mobility we use Blink Arrow, and to improve our crit rating we summon the Ice Golem. For cursing I use Lightning Arrow with greater multiple projectiles, Curse on Hit and Assassin's Mark. This shocks targets and gives us, more crit and life and mana on kill. For single target and of course against Reflect, because this trucks you, I recommend Val Burning Arrow on a trap with Pierce and weapon elemental damage. If you have a second 5 link, chuck in slower projectiles, and if you have a second 6 link, not budget anymore, then added fire damage. This leaves room for a last 4 link where you can put your Cat's When Damage Taken setup. I don't have a specific one in mind, you can do whatever you want, everything works fine, like Immortal Call, Molten Shell, a Curse, whatever. In terms of flasks, I recommend to have an Atziri's Promise for a bit more leech and chaos damage, 2 life flasks, one with bleed removal, one with shock removal, a Quicksilver of warding and a resistance flask, preferably a ruby to counter reflect rares. This build gets Val Pact and the leech nodes in Duelist, which is more than enough, especially with Atziri's Promise, to get you back to full life in a split second. For the Bandits I suggest to help Oak kill all, and in Merciless to get the power charge. Everything else about this build you can find in the description below. There you find the passive tree, the link to the character so you can have a look at the items, and feel free to leave your own suggestions in the comments if you have gearing advices. This character uses a carcass jack, which at the point where I played this was super easy to obtain and not very expensive. Now it is. So to keep this budget you will have to use another chest. I don't really have a suggestion what would be good. A defensive option like the Resist Defiance is probably a good idea, or just an assassin's garb with a lot of life and resists. That's it for this little 2.1 build review and revival. I'm Robert, I hope to see you in game, and I leave you with the final question: is this build Atziri viable? See for yourself. Die already! Okay, at least I did it. It wasn't glorious, it was with the last portal. But I did it.